morning, everyone. Oh, I know you had fun last night, but good morning. Jeez. When I was a boy, that was social mobile. No show of hands as to who remembers those. Oh, I said no show of hands, but that's okay. It was cool, wasn't it? It was amazing. We were able to go places we couldn't go. We could trade it. We can give it to people that we liked. It was so cool. And it's so 1975 or 76 right now. So the question really becomes, in this day and age with all the technology that's out there, what has replaced that? I got an idea. Maybe this. Virtual reality. Need a volunteer. Okay, hold it. Okay, you raised your hand, so you have to meet some criteria. So number one, you're cool, looking like a geek. Okay, great. Number two, you like music? Great. Do you like Paul McCartney? Great. And you know he wasn't discovered by Kanye West? Great. Okay. Come on, I'll give her a hand. So, your name is?
Oh, Alicia.
Alicia, I'm Jim. Pleasure. Now, I'm going to set this up for you. She's about to step into a Paul McCartney concert, but she's about to step in there in complete 360 virtual reality. Now, I'm putting my phone in here. It'll take me a minute or two to set it up. The one thing I'm going to tell you is when you put this on, don't touch that on the side, okay? Good. So we'll get this set up. I'm cool, looking like a geek here. And there's a company by the name of Jaunt that is out there that has worked with movies, TV, video to create amazing experiences. And so you're going to be right on stage. And remember, when you take a look at the concert, I want you to look all the way around. We'll make sure you don't fall down, you don't hit into a table,
Okay.
probably. And give me about 30 more seconds. We'll set this up. I got to find it in here. And everyone's wondering, what is he looking at in here? Well, Alicia's going to know in a second. And she's going to see, and she's actually going to sort of tell everyone what she's seeing, or she'll just rock to the music. I'm not sure which way she'll go on this one. Okay, so we're just about there. We got that open up, and we're going to put this on her head right now.
Am I supposed to describe what I see?
If you want, you can now turn around, because it's all over the place. She's about to see the explosion too, but she doesn't know that yet.
That's awesome.
So is it a concert?
Yes.
Okay, is Paul McCartney there,
Yes.
as promised?
Yes. I feel like I'm on stage. Like a backstage pass. How neat.
How understated, I mean, really. Now, notice one thing. She hasn't offered to share it with anybody yet, right? No. It's all yours. It's all yours. See, I want you thinking that when you have a tool like this, it's not just about technology. It's not just about cool. It's about understanding stuff like this will impact our business. Now, I'm going to have to take it from her now, which really is a shame. But you're having fun, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you can just take that off.
Okay.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Yeah, that was so cool.
Give her a hand. Great stuff. If you want to play with this, I'll be here afterwards. If we had the entire concert going, everyone would want to see it. But what we want to do in an hour or less than an hour is talk about the technology that's out there that's impacting what we do in this industry. But sometimes we make a huge mistake. And the mistake is that we only think about technology that's designed for our industry. We got to break that bubble. We got to get out there to everything out there and get you to understand that this conversation has nothing to do with technology. What it has to do with is your creativity and how creative you can be in using these tools. But the conundrum that we have is this tightrope that we walk. Because on one hand, we're always asking, can we afford not to stay current? Are we becoming a legacy organization? Yet the flip side of that's pretty even, which is, do we want to spend the money on everything that's out there? What's worth the risk? You saw that virtual reality and you're going, well, that must be expensive. Well, could be. Yet there are tools out there where you can do that for your event, for your property, free of charge. So the question is really understanding what that balance is that's there. So when we talk about tech, we talk disruption. And there are 5 pillars, really 5 places we're going to venture today. We're going to talk about mobile and social, which really are old school conversations. I mean, we shouldn't even be having that conversation in 2016, yet we need to, because we still have people who are hesitant, resisting, not comfortable, and that's okay. But as we push the envelope more and more, we're going to talk about blended reality. We're going to talk about this and its sibling and how it can impact what we do. In fact, when I was we were at NASA Space Center on Sunday night, I saw a perfect opportunity missed by them in being able to use that. We'll show you that in a bit. We're going to talk about wearable devices, and we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. I mean, that's really pushing the envelope beyond, oh, this phone is cool, I got a great app, to what we can do to differentiate ourselves and our organizations moving forward. So get your phones out. By the way, none of this turn your phone off nonsense. Turn them on. You're going to use them. What we're going to do is we're going to take a poll, because I want you to let me know which technology you think is going to impact your organization most in the next 2 years. So you will text to 22333 and then the 5-digit code that supports your answer. So if you think artificial intelligence might be that technology, then your message will be 54877. If you think it's going to be augmented reality, and if you're not sure what it is, don't worry, we'll get to it as we go through the session, 54919. Social media, 54921. Virtual reality, I know what Elise is choosing, 54923. Wearables, 54924, and 54925 is for your fax machine and your 8-track player and all that stuff. You just haven't given up yet, right? While we're doing this, low tech always as good as high tech. Basic tech polling service called Poll Everywhere allows us to do an in-room poll instantaneously, and we see that we have about 13 results since coming in. So we'll give you a couple more seconds. We'll see what you think, and we'll talk about it. Here we go. We're up to about 30 now. So which one? What's going to win? Most important technology for you in the next 2 years. Take a look. Wow. A couple things. I want to find the person with the 8-track machine, because I want to talk to them. I have some old tapes I want to give you. But you're still thinking social, which is cool. Social media is critical. It's how we communicate. I may not have made that choice. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. Because to me, social media is a bandwagon that we needed to have been on already. We just have to continue using it, yet still a lot of value. Virtual reality, wearables, pretty amazing. But you see up here, artificial intelligence? Might make the point before we finish. That might be the most important thing that's coming down the pike. And it's something that every one of you is using and has used for a few years. But you might not know the name, so that's okay. We can give it a name that you'll be more familiar with. We won't be showing any 8-tracks, by the way, just so we're clear on this. Change. We hate it, right? So I want to give you some comfort. I want to put a couple of quotes on the board. People you might have heard of that really felt the same way about change. Let's start here. You know, Tom was really good with his electrical thing, but yeah, right, DC. Who was the guy who pushed AC?
Tesla.
It was Nikola Tesla, that's correct. He didn't think the way we have our power is worthwhile. Give him some props for going on the limb, but clearly he missed the boat on that one. How about this? Now understand, Dow Zanuck was the head of a movie house, and TV was the major competitor then. But he was right on one thing. Plywood box, really? We're staring at a friggin' 72-inch screen. Or our phone. Either way. But to him, nah, TV will never catch on. Gets better. Okay, I'll date myself. In the early 80s, when I started working in the meetings industry, we had these digital deck mates. these massive word processors, no computers, and big old floppy disks, literally floppy, 8-inch, 2 hands, you had to put them in there. This is the company that made them. And they said, you know what? We don't need computers. They're not around anymore. No surprise there. One more. I mean, really? Just not a lot of videos that I want to watch? So you're hesitant about technology? You're in good company. We all are. We all are fearful of that. Change is tough. We got to push through. So as we're pushing through, let's just talk about today some technology for October 4th, 2016. Number one, the Galaxy Note 7. You know what really flips me out is getting to the airport and hearing the announcement that if you have one of those phones, you can't turn it on, you can't charge it. Boy, they're having a hard time, aren't they? But guess what? So's the iPhone. I think it's something with the number 7, just not working. But with that said, today's really a huge day for Google, because they're making a massive announcement about their new phones, but in addition, their new virtual reality. You see, what I want you thinking about when you start hearing companies and what they're developing and what they're rolling out is that is the sign for you to pay attention to it. When I hear a Google or a Facebook or an Amazon start talking about a product, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, we better be paying attention. Because at a certain point, we know that's coming down to us to be able to use it. So for these particular companies, all good companies, some having issues, some pushing the envelope, and that changes day to day. So we said 5 pillars. Social's one of them. And maybe, just maybe, I'll take 30 seconds to talk about social, because that's really all we need to talk about right now. You got to be in all these tools. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice because you don't know where your attendees are. You don't know where your customers are. You don't know which ones your constituents are using. So you need to play in different spaces. So to me, the conversation isn't about social media. It isn't about posting to the SMMC 2016 hashtag, which you all should be doing. It's about how you're going to actually pull information out that you could give to your customers and your clients. The term that's going to be used by a lot of people is curation and curating information. How many of you heard of paper.ly? Hopefully a handful, not that many. So let's set the stage for this. You're on Twitter, you're on Facebook. There's a fire torrent of information coming through, right? That you can't keep up with it. Wouldn't it be really cool if there was a tool that lets you sort of separate the stuff you don't need to know about from the stuff that was important to you? And that every day, this tool, free of charge, would allow you to publish a newspaper just focusing on those topics. And maybe, just maybe, you could take that newspaper and share it with your customers, with your clients, with your constituents. And that's what Paperly is. Take a quick look at it. Every day you have the ability to pull information. Now, from my perspective, what I'm using it for is the geek stuff, the technology stuff. So my paper every day talks about security, it talks about apps, it talks about cool stuff, but what does your paper talk about? Maybe it talks about information important to your organization or to your industry, because you're finding it more and more difficult to get past all the noise that's out there as you try to sell or market your tools, your services, your conferences. What if you provided information? What if your job was actually to give your customers the information they need to succeed? That's curation. That's social curation. And Paperly, one of these tools that can change the game for how you do business. But we're not alone talking about it from old school desktop computers. Oh, how 2009 of me to have this up here, right? Maybe, just maybe, we talk about it from an app. Any Flipboard users up there? Like it, Steve? Pretty awesome. Flipboard allows you to get the information that you need, and I'm geeking out with all this, obviously, and have a complete newspaper customized based on artificial intelligence to what you want and what you don't want. But even cooler is when you find something you like, the latest Google-ready new phones, gadgets. The question I always get is, how do you keep up? And we keep up using the same tools that I'm talking about. But at the very bottom right of the screen, I could hit a little plus button and put this, in their parlance, flip it into a newspaper I've created. Again, free of charge, that I can then share with my membership, share with my customers. And that way they have the latest, and you become the curator. You become the person that's actually giving them the content that's critical for them to succeed. It's a hell of a lot more positive and useful than trying to cut through the noise in other ways. Content curation is a critical part of the game that we play here. Now, we can take it another way, which is following how we're being talked about in the media, or how our competitors are being talked about. I've been using for a number of years a tool called Mention. This one's a pay service. It'll cost you $30, $40 a month. But what it will do is it'll put together everything that's out there about a particular phrase or term or company name, and provide it for you so you can see it all as it comes in. Now, as Matthew mentioned, I do work for a nonprofit that does food recovery. Well, we want to know where we're in the media and which journals are talking about us, what blogs might be talking about us. So we're able to take a look at this and see the information and have access to it all. Or you might want to check out your competitor and see what they're doing and what blogs, what news sources. It's not just social media, it's everything that's out there. So to me, social curation isn't about Justin Bieber or Kim Kardashian or either one of our political candidates. Talk about noise without even talking about party politics. It's just loud out there today. We got to filter it. We got to make it better for the people that we are trying to reach. Last one that we want to talk about here is Nuzzle. And Nuzzle plays in a very, very simple space. And that is, wouldn't it be cool if I knew what was important to my customers, colleagues, and my friends? And using Twitter as the tool, every day Nuzzle will give me an overview of what they're sharing. And we could have positioned this so differently years ago. We could have said, wouldn't it be really cool if every day we knew what was important to our customers? Yet social media gives that, and we sort of miss the boat on the importance of social. So let's take a look at Nuzzle. Telling me today the important issues, the top 25 women in the meetings industry, cool. Why you need to be all in on these vital tech tools. 10 unmistakable signs your event is about to fail. I'm only getting that because that's what the people in my community are talking about. How long does it take me every day? Well, I'm a geek. I spend all day on this, okay? But get over that. 10 minutes a day. I know you can find 10 minutes a day to not be absorbed in your email or filter it out so it's more efficient. But that 10 minutes a day can now give you that competitive edge and advantage that really provides the value of social media. It's all about hashtags. It's all about social. Now let's talk mobile. So show of hands, how many of you checked Facebook before you got out of bed this morning? A lot in the back of the room. There's probably a psychological study about that somewhere, but it's what we have always, right? So let's just understand. Almost 2/3 of all the traffic comes from mobile devices. When you go home at night, you turn your computer on? No, you don't. You have your phone. You want to check something, you ask Google. Okay, Google. I probably turned on 20 of your phones right there. And you ask the question. My wife and I are watching TV, and I hear her use OK Google all the time. OK Google, was Arnold Schwarzenegger in Gone with the Wind? And of course I'm busted again because she found out he wasn't. Not that she didn't know anyway. But it's all coming from online, from mobile devices. More searches on mobile. You want to know how your customers are finding out about your meeting? It's not from your website. In fact, I could spend an hour just saying that your website is so out of date and so obsolete. And I hate to tell you, if you just spent $40,000 updating your website without focusing most of your time on your mobile device, you just wasted an awful lot with money. And I know you don't like that sometimes to hear, but it's the truth about mobile. And oh, by the way, you don't got a lot of time. 5 seconds. So how many of you in here feel comfortable that your organization's mobile site is a good site? You do good. So does it load in 5 seconds? Beautiful. Is it identical to your website?
No.
Great. Why not?
Because the screen's different. It's vertical. We use hamburger.
Screen's different. It's vertical. Even more important, the stuff that I might want to read on a website isn't the same stuff that I want to see when I'm on my mobile phone. I want immediate results. I want to know about registering for the conference. I don't want all this noise and these big, long-to-load pictures. Doesn't make any sense. And oh yeah, indexing of apps. Here's a question for you all. Show of hands, old school on this. How many of your organizations have an app? Look around at how few. There's maybe 5 or 6. You know, Google understands these things. That's why I'm telling you to listen to the signals that are out there from the big players. You don't have to be a geek to get this. But when Google's saying we're going to spend more time because people are looking in their apps for information than we were looking on a website, what that's telling me is I darn well better have an app so that if I'm searching for something, it pops up on somebody else's phone. Mobile, huge, huge game changer. And by the way, if you haven't considered building an app, you got time, but maybe the time is definitely right now. Now, while we're talking mobile, let's talk a bit about our industry specific, a few tools to know about for now, for later. Crowd Mics has been one of my favorites for years. What does it do? Really simple. It turns everybody's phone in the room into a microphone. So if we want to do Q&A, you could just talk into the phone, press it down. Speaker at the front of the room would see who wants to ask a question, give them the microphone. No more running around, and you know what happens when the person with the microphone runs around. By the time they get it to you, you've already asked the question, right?
Yeah. Well, what was the question?
That's right. So, really cool tool. Beacon technology, something you need to pay attention to. Beacons are small little devices. A beacon that fits on a wall or on a table, connects to the phone, and identifies movement, motion, location. So, Christian, you're at an event, and the beacon can identify where you are if you've gone to a session, should you get continuing education credit for it, where in the exhibit hall you might be. You're still doing traditional trade shows, which a number of people still are. These tools can be amazing to be able to gather the data to know those places that are the highest trafficked, to either be able to make changes or to support your biggest sponsors. And clearly, if you go into retail, go into an Apple store any point in the next 2 years, in the last 2 years, these are in there. And they're tracking. And I know, tracking, way cool, way creepy. There's that little line that happens there. But they are letting them know what you're looking at, what's important to you. Why not consider it for our industry? Here's one that's kind of bizarre. 3D printing of food. No, I kid you not. A printer that'll print out your next meal. You're looking at me like I have 4 noses. Foodini's legit. It's not up to scale for our industry yet, but there's an awful lot of people who are saying, you know what, that customized approach to food and beverage, 3D printing may be something we start doing. 3D printing has been around for a while, hasn't found its niche yet. I don't know, I'm a geek, I'm fascinated by it. And then we got wearables, which we'll talk a bit about, but let me do this. I'm going to try something. It's okay if technology fails, right? Okay, cool. I will now introduce to you the Mayo. This cyborg-looking device will allow me, if it works, that's always the condition here, right? To put it on my arm, plug it into my computer. Always helps if I don't drop it on the floor. I feel it vibrating already. Okay, now it says sync Mayo, wave out to hold. So ideally at this point, if I was to move my arm and then double tap my fingers, could advance the slides. And if I wave my arm back, hello. Remember, sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't.
The prototype.
It is the prototype, but hold on a second. I want to be able to get this here, bring it in, double tap, bring it out, go back. I'm going to keep this on for as long as it doesn't all of a sudden advance 20,000 slides because I talk with my arms all the time. $200. I know some presenter viewers who will go, oh, that's just so cool. And some who will never be able to control it properly. But let's see how it works. Pole everywhere. Now I have to keep my hand in my pocket because otherwise I'm going to be moving my arm all over the place. Cool stuff. Great information that's out there. We've seen pole everywhere in action already. By the way, I'm going to take umbrage with something that Shauna said Sunday. And it wasn't from Shauna, but it was from that MPI poll that gave you those 5 C's and told you which one was least important. And content was the answer. I don't believe it. Here's why. You know, the conversation's simple. You got all the content you need right there, right? But you don't have the time. Just because it's out there doesn't mean you don't come to events like this to have people like Shauna and John Howe and others tell you what you need to know. Content isn't secondary. It's part of the experience. It has to be done well. But I listen to some of that stuff and I go, that's just hurting our whole entire industry. We got it all there. Why do you need me to tell you about technology? Well, you don't have the time. Content's still critical. Don't forget that with your organization. Just blend it properly. Speaking of mobile, outside the box, the Hyperloop, an Elon Musk invention. Change your commute by going 500 miles an hour in a bullet train. Way cool, way creepy. I know it goes to that creepy scale really a lot. But we have to realize that the amount of change, the rate of change, and the types of things that are changing are so enormous these days. And speaking of change, anyone from Pittsburgh here? Because if I was, I'd go there. I'd go there right now just because Uber is offering free Ubers using their driverless cars. Okay, need to know who wants to go into a driverless car right now? And let me ask, because I see heads shaking now, who doesn't? And who doesn't matter to them? You know, I just think it's really cool how the technology is moving forward. I like being able to embrace it. I want to be able to use the technology to do my job better, to be more productive. Now let's get to the conversation that we sort of started with, this virtual reality. In fact, I want to differentiate 2 important tools to you, virtual and augmented reality. What Elisa saw was virtual. It was immersive, right? You were in here, you couldn't see anyone else. If you started walking around, you probably would have bumped into a table. And when we put these on my 5-year-old nieces, oh my gosh, and they just were running across the house thinking they were seeing things, that they could touch the person there. They were so embarrassed when they ran into a wall, it was terrible. But, you know, she saw a concert. Big deal. Our industry? Really? Ask the British Columbia Tourism Board, who is now putting out the 2nd version of their virtual reality film, The Wild Within, to be able to promote tourism in their area. You can watch it on YouTube without these glasses. Gotta tell you, so much more cool in this environment. Or look at Vegas. What a surprise, right? That Vegas is using this. Suppliers in the room. Then you started using virtual reality for showcasing your space? Testing. How are you testing it? Yeah. Which is that tipping point of whether it'll work. And if you do it, how are you going to use it? What's the thought? Is it going to be for going to a show like this and showcasing the space?
Yeah, and then I think there's portable cardboard something that you can mail out.
Yeah, portable cardboard, something like free of charge viewers.
And then use your own phone type thing, yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff, isn't it amazing? Matter of fact, that Google Daydream that's supposedly being released today, $70, will fit any phone in there. but you're really thinking ahead of the curve. Now, part of the problem that's here is our industry. Really? I mean, virtual, augmented reality in our industry, and I am going to take this off because otherwise I'm going to start moving all the way. Okay, so we know virtual reality is real, but augmented reality, the ability to see something that's not there, but to still have complete view of the room. And what happened to me on Sunday, we got to the NASA Space Center, and I saw those pods outside the Space Center. Did you see right where the rocket was? And it was 3 astronauts from the different Gemini and Apollo missions. That's really cool. So as a geek, I immediately took out my phone. I said, maybe this moves. Maybe I can get information there, but alas, I was wrong. But then I thought about it about a month ago. I'm in Seattle. I'm at the Space Needle. How many of you have been there? Really cool. So I'm there, and here's what I found out. Found out that if I downloaded the Space Needle app, and I'll flip back for a second. Remember that icon? They were all over the grounds where the Space Needle was, not unlike what we saw at NASA with those pods, right? So I go to the app, I tap on Space Needle, it says look for space spots, they call it. But watch what happens when I hover my device over that spot. I just heard an audible gasp from the room. They had people taking selfies there. You think it didn't engage the audience? You think you couldn't do this? In fact, there's a tool out there. And this obviously costs a little bit of money to do this well, but it doesn't have to be the way you go. A company called Layar, L-A-Y-A-R, where you could take any ad, any document, the front cover of your publication, and attach to it a YouTube video or a Facebook page. And literally just have people with their phone hover right over there, and it pops up. Cost of doing that? Well, you can do it for a one-time fee of about $3. $3. Matter of fact, you know augmented reality, although you know it by another name. How many of you have used or heard of the app Shazam? Way cool, right? It's music discovery. No, it's great, isn't it? But you know what? Watching TV one night, and you see the Shazam app pop up on a commercial.
And it says tap here so you can listen to the song that's coming on and more information about the commercial.
Right. It's an augmented reality experience, a second screen augmented reality experience, where I can take that, hover right over the TV, and it gives me more information. Augmented reality becoming a huge part of how we're going to continue and move forward doing business, because we're able to bring it right to the person's device. That engagement level that we know is so critical becomes an absolutely crucial part of the experience. So when I look at stuff like Sunday night, I go, one more thing they could have done would have been to say, hey, get our app. What a great thing to be able to have people download their app, right? And then hover over, and up pops up a video of the Apollo 8 mission. Or you go to your events, and you know you have a bunch of breakouts, and people never decide which breakout they want to go until they get there. So you got signage, we'll go old school, it's a piece of cardboard, and you have the speaker's picture there or information. What if you just put the phone up, and all of a sudden up pops a 30-second video of that speaker and what they're going to talk about? This conversation is not about technology. These are just tools. What I want you to do is put your creative hat on, because that's where it's going to make a huge difference. Then the question is affordability, right? So it must be, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Well, let me give you 3 options right here. The Samsung Gear on the left is $350. The GoPro 360 camera is $700. And for any phone that people have in this room, unless it starts with the word BlackBerry, sorry about that, you know, it was just such a great phone for so many years and obsolete now. But if you have an i or an Android phone, you have the ability to download a free 360 tool. at least to check out how it works. In fact, I could stand in the middle of the room right now and do a 360 picture of the space, put some audio in there. Within 2 minutes, it's ready. And then when you send one of those Google Cardboards out, you send it with a couple of these downloadable pictures, and now you can experience the room at your event. Maybe next year at this conference, one or two of the suppliers will come in with some sort of VR tool. It'd be really, really cool to see. You're not going to be the first in the industry doing it, though, but you will be way ahead of the curve. So we looked at a wearable earlier, but clearly the game is fitness. And by the way, to me, it's all about Dick Tracy. It's all about my hero growing up. He had a watch. He was able to talk, and that's what I have, right? You have these things that can do that right now. But how many people have a Fitbit? Yes, like it, love it? You have 5. We got a problem here. Okay, 5 Fitbits.
Colors. And the annoying thing is, so one will go off, my goal step is 18,000.
Mm-hmm.
The one will go off in 5 minutes. 10 minutes later, another one will go off. 25 minutes later, that one will go off. And then, it's all different.
All times. So you're always reaching a goal then, right?
I'm in a Fitbit challenge in my group, and they're like, why the heck is she getting 4 or 5 I met your goals?
Because she has 5 devices. Now, might be a little bit over the edge for some of you, but it's nothing wrong with it at all. So you have Fitbit, you do the Fitbit shake every night. It's 10:30 at night, and you're at 9,500 steps, and you start going like this really fast. It's wrong. It's just wrong to game the system that way, okay? But that's how wearables are going to come into our industry, because it has to be something that we're comfortable with on a consumer level. Once we see it on that level, we start going, oh, okay, got it. It's the same augmented reality, just moving back for a second. You know what changed the game with AR? Pokemon. I'm stunned when she plays it. I'm just absolutely surprised. But it made perfect sense, because now it's in everyone's hand. You might hate it, you might love it, but guess what? Now everyone knows augmented reality, and I got to tell you, I know a bunch of planners who, right after that happened, started integrating that concept, that gamification approach, into their event. Virtual, augmented, wearables, the Mayo presentation. It really makes you wonder what's going to happen to your phone. And by the way, when you hear these futurist conversations, let me give you a little hint. They're all lying. Well, maybe not lying. They're all guessing what's it going to be like. Because we don't know. Nobody knows. It's changing too fast. So since they all get to guess, I'll guess too. Your phone in a couple of years you will never take out of your pocket or your pocketbook, because it'll be connected to the wearable devices that you have, and you'll be able to interact with it. iWatch is a wearable, absolutely. There you go. So there is the prototype for wearable technology, Fitbits and iWatch. And do you use your iWatch to make calls?
Wait, what?
To make phone calls?
I do, and that's the awesome thing, but they can't really hear you.
Mm-hmm. When you get version 1 of something, it's always tough because it hasn't gotten really ready for prime time. It's Dick Tracy all over again, right? There we go. So she's an island unto herself right there, but it's a beautiful thing. You're actually, everything that we're talking about, you're embracing, which is way cool. No, but the check will be in the mail, no problem. So what happens to your phone? It actually goes into a place that you may never take it out. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have even thought of having a phone that had all this capability. 2 years ago, you knew your phone was indispensable, and 5 years from now, it'll be a forgotten part of what you bring every day. That's why nobody knows what's going to happen. That's why you can't wait to make the tech decision, because by the time you think about it and bring it to a committee and have them talk about it, 4 new things have already passed it. Let's talk artificial intelligence. Just read that stat. I think it's really, really cool. As much data in 2 days as from the beginning of time to 2003. That's Instagram posts and YouTube videos and Facebook posts and live streaming and everything that's up there. So the question to everyone in this room is, what are you doing with that data? You have it. The likely answer is not a heck of a lot right now because you're not even thinking about the ability to capture that. So just curious, show of hands, I'll go completely old school. Are you using, anyone in here, using big data to make decisions for their conferences yet? How so? Perfect, and that's the perfect example. Property management system in the hotel, what sort of decisions is it helping you with? Marketing. Who to market to, where to market to, when to market, all that stuff. Why? Because she doesn't have to guess anymore. She has the data from what her people, her clients, her customers have already indicated. It's huge. It's enormous. But you're using it every day. Guaranteed. Go to Amazon. Go to Netflix. You know, people who watched this movie also liked its artificial intelligence. Pretty sweet. Remember, tech isn't bad, tech isn't good, it just is. So, Google has it. Siri, Alexa, M, which is going to be Facebook's artificial intelligence being rolled out later this year. They're all playing in this space. In fact, again, a lot of people think that those companies have a huge corner on the market. They may. But understand that they are able to understand and customize content for you. Credit card fraud detection is all about artificial intelligence. It knows spending habits and where you go and all that, and makes decisions to protect you. And all the translation tools that are out there do that as well. But in our industry, it becomes a little bit more nebulous. But organizations can use it for registration. All of a sudden we have all this data on our attendees. What use would that be for a big database to look at that? Where do we need to bring our event next? What sessions were popular? What topics were important? What components of the meeting do we have to change? Huge amounts. On-site, to be able to have beacons, we talked about those earlier, collecting data, and then being able to, oh, you know what was really, really popular in the exhibit hall? The time we did the international food display. And we knew at a certain day, at a certain point, more people went over there. You know, that's critical information for us. Yet we're leaving this on the table. And hotels, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for property management systems and stuff like that. And I gotta tell you, every hotel chain, major hotel chain, is using AI in a huge way. Whether you like it or not, whether they tell you are or not, it's being used because it helps them make the right decisions. But have you met Amy? Amy, the website x.ai. Amy and I are having a relationship. My wife knows, no big deal. She's my personal assistant, but she's not real. She's artificial intelligence. So we want to have a meeting. I can send you a note, and we can play that email tag to try to find out the opportune time that we both meet. But instead, I send a note to Steve, and I copy Amy. And I say, Amy, can you please schedule a meeting with Steve? And Amy then, from that note, sends Steve a note, knowing my schedule and understanding some available times, and sends it to you. Here are 3 times that Jim's available. You then respond to Amy. You might not even respond to me. And Amy then picks the time that works for us both, makes the meeting, puts it into both of our calendars. And every week, I get a recap of what Amy's done. I know, way cool, way creepy, got it, really on the side to some extent. But think about the convenience and the functionality. And it's just at the tip. This is not a free service. It's like a monthly service that you have to, in a way, be on a waiting list for to get. But it's starting to roll out in big time. Artificial intelligence. And I haven't even mentioned the Internet of Things, the fact that everything down the road, this table, that wall, those drapes, will all have connectivity. In fact, the Internet of Things is part of artificial intelligence and wearables. Who has a Nest in their home? Anyone? Internet of Things. So the thermostat, you can program it when you're away. It knows when you use the heat and the air most. It'll turn it on and off. Has it saved you money?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is it cool?
I also have a link, it's a geofence that when I go outside the geofence, it shuts it down.
Geofencing, good term to know. Geofence is where you actually put a virtual fence around a house, a property, a hotel, and it'll know when you're gone, which means it'll adjust automatically based on the fact that you're not going to be using the air conditioning or the heating as much. Hotels start to use geofences a lot, even convention centers. They have a meeting like this, and they have a geofence around this room, and you have the conference app. I'm not saying it's in this conference app, but guess what? You walk out of here, and you head over to the Embassy Suites, and all of a sudden a message could pop up, happy hour at the Embassy Suites, 5 o'clock, please join us. Way cool, way creepy, got it. You know, some of that stuff is kind of weird, but it's so functional. Applicable to our industry? Will be, no question about it. However, last part of this conversation is why some people haven't jumped in so much. Security. I mean, is that your organization's security policy? Wide open back door? Matter of fact, what you're all doing is saying, well, that's not my responsibility, that's IT. No, baloney. Security starts with every one of you. Because of schemes and scams like social engineering, they can find you to be the person that'll open up the door for the hackers to come in. So I want to sort of wrap up the conversation, though we'll have one more video, with what I consider today's security scorecard. And what we're going to do is we're going to have you self-grade yourself based on the points, and we're going to see who has a passing grade, not only for themselves, but because of yourself, for your organization as well. Now, I'm a teacher, so 70 is a passing grade. No negotiation, no curving, no grading on a curve yet. And by the way, if you don't know something I'm talking about, you can't take the points for it, okay? So, we'll start. Do you have an antivirus product installed and always running on your computer and your phone? If you do, give yourself 10 points. Well done. Do you have an anti-malware solution? Remember, you don't know what it is, you can't take the points, but if you do, give yourself 10 more points. And always use a personal VPN when on public Wi-Fi. Really important, because we can have that free Wi-Fi conversation, and it's great and it's useful, and it's so easy to hack into you once you're on there. So a personal VPN gives you some level of security. 35 points. Just show of hands, humor me. How many of you have 35 points so far? Ooh, this isn't going to be pretty. Congratulations. A few at the back of the room. Let's make it move more. Do you always have your auto updates on? Cool if you do 15 points. Able to get a lot of stuff prevented from ever hitting your computer because of those annoying automatic updates. Where are my I people? Cool. How many points are you thinking to get? Nothing! It is such a false sense of security. The issue isn't Apple. The issue is all the different ways that you can have access to your information. Phishing scams, links. Apple is a little more secure, but it is not anything more than a panacea to believe that's going to protect you. You got to do the same due diligence. Password Manager gave you 10 points. Download apps from official app stores. Most of you only do that 10 points, by the way. If you have kids, danger zone. Third-party app services filled with malware and spyware. Be careful of that, especially with the games. You only click on an email if you're 100% certain it's authentic, because you all have the Nigerian ambassador uncle who wants to take money from us, right? So 10 points if you're really, really careful about that. The most updated version of your browser, 5 points. Two-step authentication. Don't know what that is? Will ever use a password and then the company texts you and say, here's a 6-digit number you have to use? That's two-step authentication. You use it? Awesome. You know what? It's critical, because if you ever lose your phone or they steal your password, they still can't get into your device as easily. So if you use that, 10 points. If nobody else ever uses your device, that's 5 points. 70 or more, raise your hand. Ooh, 1. Congratulations. Fantastic. Right over here? Cool.
I've been to your class.
You've been to the class, so you learned earlier. But we're going to make sure that we give you a second chance. We'll give you some bonus points. You have lots of common sense. If you do, you get nothing. Doesn't help. Zip. Internet Explorer, if you do, please take off 10 points. because you've really opened up the door incredibly. Any kids under 21 use your computer, then take away 25 points because you're in trouble. If your parents use your computer, take away another 25 points because you're really in trouble. And if you're in a house where they both use your computer, well, just get a new computer. You've lost. It's over. We've got to be aware of what's out there. We've got to protect, because the easy in isn't necessarily from IT. It's from an email that gets sent to you and that you click on. A little bit of prevention really keeps you secure and lets you play with these tools and toys incredibly well. So let's end with a new realm of creativity. Right now, what you're about to see probably has nothing to do with our industry yet, but we're going to go back into the virtual reality realm. Google has a product called Tilt Brush. And what Tilt Brush allows the user to do is paint using their arms inside a virtual reality world. I want to show you the video. I want you thinking about education, your nieces, your nephews, your kids, and how it might really open up the creativity for them. Let's take a look. None of that exists in reality. It's all in the virtual world. Did you see the virtual palette she had in her hand? It's such a cool world out there. Take one thing from the conversation today, use it, play with it, try it, move your organization forward. It's not going back to 1972. Those VGAF masters aren't coming back other than something retro, on eBay. You guys have been awesome. Hope you enjoyed everything. Enjoy the rest of your day here. I appreciate it.